Hi everyone, it's Marissa and Thuy here from Rise High, and today we're talking about what did we learn in 2021 and what can we expect in 2022. So it's definitely been an interesting year, hasn't it, Thuy?
Sure has, Marissa.
We thought after 2020, we thought that things would calm down a bit, but 2021 has been full of surprises once again, and definitely been a bit more challenging than many people would have liked. But I think we've learnt a lot from this year, haven't we, Thuy?
Absolutely. I think from a personal perspective, we are so much more resilient than we think we are, and that's just human nature, isn't it? We just deal with what comes our way and just handle it.
Absolutely. I feel like that's been a big learning from the pandemic in general over 2020 and 2021, where we've learnt that actually we're a lot more resilient.
Yes.
You know, we can actually overcome a lot of challenges that we maybe necessarily didn't think that we were capable of previously. And change is always scary, but definitely I think most Australians have come out the other end stronger. Yes. Stronger for it. We've learnt to control what we can control and, you know, let go of the things that we can't control.
And that's particularly important for me personally, is change is going to happen whether I like it or not, but it's how I look at that change and how I feel about it will be my response. So it's about how you cut it into dot points, into step by step, and you just don't let it overwhelm you. So I had a comment which I shared with you a while ago that for me, change is always hard. Harder for some, but it's always hard. It's always messy in the middle, but then it's beautiful at the end.
Absolutely. And I think one of the great things that's come out of the pandemic in 2021 is that most people that I meet have a greater appreciation for the little things.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, for spending time with family and friends, the stuff that we used to take for granted, I feel like we now appreciate a little bit more. I feel like it's brought us back to what is actually really important.
Absolutely.
And highlighting the true, you know, value and beauty in life. And things that we've lost sight of, I guess, prior to the pandemic.
And the one thing that resonated with me the most was when we had a lockdown in South Australia. I think it was just before last year, before Christmas, and I was just looking out my window and it was just no one around, and it just really hit home that we've got to slow down a little bit and just kind of smell the roses as well and be with family and be present at the moment, and just take in life a little bit as well.
I think the other thing that goes hand in hand with that is also the importance of prioritising mental health and general wellbeing. You know, it has been a tough couple of years for many Australians, and mental health is one of those things that we've probably heard a lot more of in the last 12 to 24 months because it's affected different people differently. But for those of us that haven't been deeply affected, I think we've still had our mental health challenged, and we've still had to question, what are we doing to look after our mental health? What are we doing to look after our well-being? And I feel like that's actually been a really good learning that's come out of this year in that people need to realise that they need to prioritise that part of their life and prioritise looking after themselves and their health and well-being, you know, moving forward.
Absolutely, and it's just become, and it's a great thing that it's become very much a forefront topic to talk about. It's not a taboo subject to talk about anymore, and
absolutely.
And it's okay to not feel your best every day. And you're not going to be judged by that. So I've even noticed in my own self sometimes, you know, I have my up and down days, and then, you know, thank you to Google. You Google what can you do, and it's just reading books, positive affirmations, just to help you get back on track. And that's what I've been doing a fair bit this year in 2021 as well.
But I think definitely overall we found that Australians are much more resilient. Potentially you might find that you have been more resilient than you initially thought you were. We've found new ways to communicate, and at the end of the day it's always come back to the fact that people need people. We need relationships, and the new ways to communicate have just helped us to find ways to connect and be together, and hopefully moving forward in 2022 and beyond we can all find ways to be together, you know, without restriction.
Correct, yes.
So that was the first lesson. I guess what else have we learned in 2021, Thuy?
Well, I think Australians have been able to save a lot of money as well because of our restrictions, not travelling, we're saving so much money, we're paying down our loans,
debt,
buying property.
Yes. I mean, it's been amazing, really, and I think that how many people do we see that really struggle to save money that have managed to save money this year?
Yep. So, and it's so important to save money and have that buffer.
Absolutely.
You know, like just going back to the changes, if you had that buffer and COVID hit again, you're not going to be under so much stress financially.
Yeah, so it's such an interesting thing because often people believe that they can't save or have this idea that saving is really hard, but most Australian families, especially if they've been able to retain their employment during the 20 and 21 year, they've actually probably saved a lot of money and they've paid down debt, and the net worth for many Australians increased over this year. Yeah. So it actually goes to show you that you can save.
Yes.
And, you know, just a few small tweaks and changes to your lifestyle, which unfortunately have been forced on you this year. But moving forward, you do have the power to control those changes yourself to save money and pay down debt.
Yep, and with low interest rate, record low interest rate, I should say, and you're putting money into your loan, people are seeing their loan balance drop, which is really good incentive, a really good motivator for people to continue to put money into their loan or into their savings account to save for their deposit. So we're seeing a lot of that as well. So a lot less debt.
So good work, Australians. But the stats have come out to say that now that things are opening up, people are starting to spend a lot more again. So let's try and keep this savings goal happening, and let's try and keep those savings, moving in the right direction instead of the wrong direction, and, have a good debt management strategy. And like Thuy said, while interest rates are so low, to try and actually get on top of that debt.
So you turn the tap on a little bit, not full.
Yeah. I like that. That sounds good.
And sometimes I turn my tap off fully.
What else did 2021 teach us, Thuy?
Well, the property market is, you've seen it on the news, it's everywhere, it's just booming at the moment, and people are buying, especially in the Eastern Seaboard and in South Australia, and we've had such great growth in the property market, I think record growth since 2000.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as well as knowing that individually we're more resilient than we think, the Australian economy has been a lot more resilient than we thought it would be. Yeah. We've come out of this pandemic with really low unemployment figures. The Australian economy is still going strong. Of course, there's a few things that we need to sort out, but it's, the truth is that we've come out of this situation as a country much better than we thought we would at the beginning. Yeah. So. That's, I think that gives everyone a sense of confidence.
Yeah, we're so fortunate here in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be given, government incentives during the COVID stages, and a lot of jobs are still being maintained. In fact, unemployment is at record low. The job market is booming.
Yeah, so there's lots of good things ahead for 2022.
Yeah.
Before we get on to the next one, I'll do a few shout outs. Hi Simeon, Adri, Todd, Lauren, Sam, Sarah, Corey. Thanks for joining in, guys. Really appreciate you being in. If you want to contribute what you learned in 2021, we'd love to hear it in the comment section below. So we've talked about people being more resilient than they thought. We've talked about the economy being more resilient than we thought. We've talked about Australians having saved a lot of money. What else have we learned in 2021, Thuy?
So just going back to the property market going up, we've also seen record rental as well. So rental has been really booming as well.
So we've learned that property is a really stable investment asset in times of uncertainty.
Yes.
I mean, obviously the share market's gone all over the shop, but has ended up in a good place now. But property has remained really stable and consistent throughout this period. And in fact, it's skyrocketed. I mean, we've had more than 20% house growth and more than 20% growth in values over the last 12 months for the first time since 2002. So it's been nearly 20 years, according to the Real Estate Institute of Australia. And actually, Adelaide's led the way.
Yeah, and I've read reports, and that although the eastern states like Melbourne and Sydney with their restrictions and their affordability is being quite challenged, Adelaide, Darwin, maybe the NT are going to lead the way in continuing the growth. So Adelaide, and people are coming into Adelaide to invest.
Yes, our net migration figures are pretty high, even though migration's closed off.
Yes, and it will open up, because that's what I also read in reports.
Absolutely.
Migration's going to open up in 2022. But anyway, we can get to that.
So the growth statistics have been 24% growth in Adelaide over the last 12 months, which is just phenomenal growth. So most people in Adelaide that have owned property have done really well over the last 12 months, but also anyone that's owned property in any capital city of Australia over the last 12 months has done really well from that perspective. There's another interesting thing that I think we've taken out of 2021 from a property perspective.
Yep, I've seen a sharp movement towards housing versus units.
Yes, there's been a really
versus the CBD.
I agree. Property. I think our preferences for housing have changed. Yep. You know, we were prior to 2020 and 2021, prior to the pandemic, people were looking for smaller housing.
Yep.
Now we're looking for larger housing.
Yes.
And we want land. You know, there's less focus on living close to the CBD as well. I think with more people working from home and, you know, being happy to sort of be out in the suburbs, less people are focused on living in the CBD. So our preferences for housing have changed, and that's going to be really interesting moving forward to see how that influences our property market in the future as well.
Yep. And I think that comes down to a lot of pet ownership too, because they need a yard for their pets.
Yes, that's right. But also I think that people want to know that they want to have a haven in their home. They want to have some sort of escape, and I think that probably people that were living in smaller units or apartments during the pandemic would have found it quite difficult when it was those lockdowns, because there wasn't really anywhere to escape.
Absolutely.
We've had a question come through. If I have a home loan, what should I look out for in 2022? Great question. And who's that question come through from? From Karen. Thanks, Karen, from your question. So basically, well, let's get straight on to interest rates, because that's going to be a big determining factor for your home loan. So currently, interest rates are at record lows, and they have been really low for at least the last 12 months. Rates are expected to stay low in 2022, so you can probably expect that next year your rates will continue to stay low. We have already seen fixed rates go up though, Thuy, haven't we?
Yes, they've gone up several times in a couple of months.
And I think what we're expecting is that rates will start to increase earlier than we originally thought. So we don't know exactly the timing of when rates will start to increase, but probably start to expect an increase in 2023 and definitely by 2024.
Yeah. And that the rates moving up is really a reflection of how well we're doing as an economy overall.
And I think the other thing for that is that we've got to really understand that where rates are now is unsustainable. It's not actually a reasonable spot for rates to be. This is at record lows. We do need the rates to go back up to more normal levels. We do also have a really good video on YouTube which is about fixed rates versus variable rates. So we'll put the link in the comment section below that you can check that out. But definitely, what could you do for your home loan in 2022? Well, I think Thuy hit the nail on the head earlier when she said that while the interest rates are low, try and pay down your debt. It's also a good time to look at investing, because you might have now a situation where you've got some equity in your home or equity in your investment properties. While the rates are so low, you could look at either paying down debt, if that's part of your strategy, or using the opportunity to build your portfolio and build your assets and your wealth whilst the interest rates are so low and the cost is so cheap. Do you agree?
Following, absolutely. So with record prices that that property are fetching at the moment, this is a really good opportunity to leverage against your property if you want to build wealth through property, to get a good valuation on your property and release the equity out of that to help you buy your next property. It's a really great time to do that.
What else do you think we can expect in 2022, Thuy?
Oh, well, I can
what
see
about property values?
Growth. Yep, I can
continued growth.
Continued growth.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing supply starting to meet demand a little bit, so it's going to go back to a bit of a slower market, but not going to drop.
I agree. I think that definitely all the experts are predicting that growth will continue in 2022, but maybe at a slower rate than what it has been over 2021. And then it's going to stabilise. A lot of people are worried about a crash. I don't see that happening, especially not in Adelaide. But and also we've got to remember that there's still a lot of pent up demand that hasn't been met from 2021. Like I know for us, for example, we've still got so many people with pre-approvals that have been looking for a house for the last year that haven't been able to find one. There's still a lot of people wanting to buy, and they got buyer's fatigue, so they just have dropped off, but they're going to want to come back in 2022 and buy that property that they want to buy. So the demand's still going to be there. That's going to still continue to drive the property growth.
Yep, and what I've seen with talking to real estate agents, that coming into spring and summer, people are going to start putting more properties in the market. So that's where the supply is going to start meeting demand, and then people can start going back to a bit more normal property prices as well. But again, I don't see it dropping.
And what about rental in 2022? Thuy, what's going to happen with rental?
I think that's going to continue to boom as well.
Yes.
Lots of people are still looking for rental. Some people find affordability quite an issue, and they prefer to rent in the areas or the suburbs that they like to live in, and buy an investment property instead.
We've actually seen a big increase in rental, rental rates in 2021. That is set to continue in 2022. Yes. And another trend that is thought to maybe be possible in 2022 with rents is that tenants might want a lot longer term leases. So that's something to look out for as well. Shout out to Andrew, Beck, Jason, Bridget, Susan, Sharon. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So that brings us to the end of our video today. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We'd love to know what you've learned in 2021 and what you're expecting for 2022. We, on behalf of the team at Rise High, we wish you and your families a wonderful Christmas and New Year. We will be open throughout the Christmas period, and we are here to support you achieve your 2022 New Year's resolutions and all your finance goals, and we can't wait to help you achieve everything you dream of in the new year. So please get in touch if there's anything we can do to help, and thank you for your support during 2021. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.